hauntings, cryptids, the unknown. Welcome to Mystic Moon Cafe Radio.
Totally.
Setting up meeting.
Great. Say good evening, everyone out there in wherever you are. Hi, I'm June, and this is Mystic Moon Cafe. Welcome, everyone. We have such an exciting show tonight, but before we talk about our show, Wendy, Jake, would you like to say hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Are
That
we
was
actually
fun.
live?
Do you want us to do more than that?
Yeah.
I'm
Take a
catching
sip.
up.
Let me loosen my lips here. Just one moist sip.
Yes. Yeah, you go right ahead.
I'm going to have to decant the this here in a moment, but as of yet.
Good evening, everyone. Decant? Oh, well, hey.
Hey, sounds like we're live.
Yeah.
Yep, we are live.
Live. At least we're
It's
not dead.
that we're rookies or anything. You know, it's that streaming crap that you hear about.
Keep
Hello,
drinking, Jake.
Ron.
Keep drinking.
I
Ron
know.
in the chat room. He's calling us good people. He obviously doesn't know us.
Aw, it's so nice. But anyway, welcome to another week of Mystic Moon Cafe. I hope everyone had an amazing week since the last show we were on. And like I said, we have an incredible show tonight. We are going to have a panel of paranormal peeps. Does that sound good?
That's what we've
Panel of
got, yep.
paranormal peeps.
Pretty much, yep.
Why don't we go ahead and start with Ross, and if you want to introduce yourself, and we'll kind of go around and tell a little something about yourself, and maybe tell one thing that most people don't know about you.
Wow. Okay. Ross Allison. I'm the president and founder of A.G.H.O.S.T, also the owner of Spooked in Seattle Ghost Tours, and an author of coming out 10 books now. Oh my God. Soon. So yeah, something that most people don't know about me. I'm a huge fan of classic TV.
Yes, he is. How about you, Mike?
My name is Mike. I'm out of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I'm a lead investigator of a team called the Paranormal Roadtrippers. I've been investigating for 15 plus years. And something no one really knows about me is a tie. I'm a trained musician in drums and various other instruments. And I did martial arts for about 15 years.
Oh, cool.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And now, Michael and Madysen.
I'll let Madysen start. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Madysen. I've been doing ghost hunting, tarot card reading, all of the above since 2017. Random fact about me, I used to model, and that's how I actually got into ghost hunting. So very interesting origin story.
My name's Michael, Michael, and I like turtles. I'm just teasing. I did roughly 8 years in the U.S. Army. Did a combat tour Afghanistan. I did search and rescue during the Gatlinburg Smoky Mountain Fire in 2016. I've ghost hunted since I really got into it around 2004, and that's how Madysen and I met, coming up here with Ross, believe it or not. So we've been together ever since.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
I'm sorry, Madysen. I really am.
Managed.
Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being on our show tonight.
Well, it's great to be here.
We've got several friends in the chat room. Everybody's saying
awesome.
hello. Hi, Seth. Hi, Ron. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Medea. And hi, Jeff. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Glad you
Hello.
could join us tonight.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time.
So what do we want to do tonight to kick the show off?
Well, song and dance is out. And
Darn.
Okay, well, Jake, I can see you're chomping at the bit there. If you want to do a song and a dance, please. And isn't it your turn? You going to introduce yourself a little bit and
Well,
tell us?
I mean, everyone knows me from
Oh yes,
Mystic
I
Moon.
left Jake out completely. Oh my
I know,
God.
kind of.
Oh,
a
way to
guest.
be,
That's okay.
June.
Yeah.
I know. You can
Well,
tell
Jake
how
is
much
supposed
they
to be a
love
guest.
me.
Yes.
Send sympathy gifts to cashmoney@bigdaddy.com. Thank you very much.
Jake is going to be also on the panel tonight. He's not just going to be a host tonight. He's also going to
We're
be on the
drinking
panel
wine.
tonight. And he's drinking wine. So, Jake, tell us something about yourself that maybe people don't know, even though, you've been on the show a lot, but
Okay. Well, I have been ghost hunting since 2007. I started in Chicago, though I am a native Wisconsinite. I will say, because we have a Canuck on the line, my mother's Canadian. I used to spend the summers in Arnprior, which is by Ottawa, so other side of the country. So things you may not know about me. Some of you guys know this, but when I was in the Army, I served in the 90s, dating, see the gray hair. I was a code breaker, and I specialized in experimental weapons for the bad guys.
Ooh,
badass.
The bad guys.
proton packs.
A little more high powered than that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, yeah. Our government really does act to help protect us most of the time.
That's awesome to know.
Very nice.
Keep drinking the wine, Jake. Keep drinking the wine. We'll learn more
Secrets will
secrets.
come out.
I know, it's all coming out now.
I know. Knock, knock, knock. May we speak to Specialist Rice? I'm like, ain't nobody called me Specialist in a long time. It's like, we have some handcuffs and a black car waiting for you.
That makes you happy. What are you talking about?
We don't talk about
I'm the
handcuffs in a
Dom.
black car.
I'm the Dom. I'm going to say word is bunnies.
Okay, let's change the subject here.
This is exciting conversation going on.
I have a
Tonight-
feeling we don't need to talk about ghosts tonight. That's all right.
No, we can totally
I just
derail
started
this
drinking, too.
conversation quickly.
Yeah, I just started drinking, so what the hell, why not, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we start off by well, let's see. I've got a lot of really good questions here. I was trying to figure out what's a really good one to start everything off with. Why don't we just start off with naming a couple of your favorite places that you have investigated that you love to investigate? It's like, Ross, you want to start off and kind of say? We'll
Oh,
put
you
you
put
in
it on
there.
me. I could have stole some ideas from other people.
I know.
Gosh, there's been so many. It's really hard to say what is my favorite because every place I've investigated has had some unique story to it or experience. When I have to say I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I've had, traveling all over the world, investigating some of the most amazing places, the most haunted places, from spending the night in Chillingham Castle. That was an amazing experience. To even local places, Seattle Underground, were places I have access to at multiple times, and that also helps increase the opportunity of capturing some phenomena. So it's really hard for me to pick my favorites. And also too, writing about a lot of these places, I find I start to build my my to-do list of places I want to go to. So I don't know. It's a tough one, but I do have to say, travels through Europe have been amazing, and even to the East Coast, just some great places.
Cool. What about you, Mike?
Actually, this past summer, I probably went to one of my most favorite places ever. It's called the Bellevue Hotel. It's in a little tiny town in the middle of the Canadian Rockies called Three Valley Gap, middle of nowhere. And what makes this town really unique is that they have a really big ski chateau there, but then they created a ghost town, which is artificial, but they took all these old historic buildings from the surrounding areas. Wow, totally animated. From the surrounding areas of British Columbia. And this hotel, it was built in, I think, 1894 or 1898. And they took it apart piece by piece, including all of the furniture, all of the menus, all of the silverware, all of the
Wow.
wallpaper, everything. And they put it back together on their property as is. And the
Oh.
tell at this place is your gear doesn't work, audio recorders don't work, because we've been the first official ghost hunting team to go there ever. And but they have a lot of tours in there where people will use their live phones or their little voice recorders just walking through. And people have been pushed there. They've had their gear slapped out of their hands. And when we were talking to the curator on this, we're like, okay, because we want to go in there and see if that stuff actually happens or if it's word of mouth. But we go in and we got a lot of expensive crap that we use. And we set up all of our cameras. I think we had 4 Sonys set up, really nice, good Sonys. We had our Zoom audio recorders all set up. I had a couple Tascam audio recorders set up, and all of our Tascam kept becoming corrupt. We changed the memory card, the batteries multiple times, corrupt. All of our video looks like it was shot in the 1980s on all of our cameras, not just one. So they're all at 1080p, and we're like, what the hell? I guess we can use that word on TV. And
You're good. You're good with hell.
yeah, and we couldn't really figure out what was happening there. And one of our investigators also got kind of a bit of a push down the stairs, and we talked to the curator there, and she's like, yeah, those are my guys.
Wow.
And second place I can think of off the top of my head is another little historic house called the Bailey House in a town called Merritt, British Columbia. And I've always been a skeptic of people getting touched, pushed, or actually harmed. And I actually got straight up choked in one of the bedrooms. I actually felt a hand go like that, and I'm like, all right, I'm a believer in that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In the chat room, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here just a little bit. The Tascam was frustrating because it kept corrupting the files. What's a Tascam?
Audio recorder.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael and Madysen?
You go first.
Okay, for me, I have to give a big shout out to Bob Weiss of Shakers in Milwaukee. That's where I got my start. My very first time ghost hunting was by myself in one of the most haunted locations in Wisconsin. And so it was seeing a lot of apparitions, capturing a shadow figure the first time I went ghost hunting. And so for me, it was life-changing. It scared the hell out of me, but it was also very life-changing, and just it led me to meet Mike, which was really cool. But yeah, for me, that place always stands out to me as some place that you can go, and there's always some sort of activity, whether you're like having phantom smells, if you're seeing shadow figures, if you're getting movement or some sort of audio capture, there's always something there. But probably the most unique place was an abandoned Shopko building. For those of you that remember Shopko, it's a Wisconsin brand business. Poltergeist there, and that was a very unique, unexpected turn of events to have someone throw something in a place where I used to work. So it was very trippy. But you can go ahead.
That's a tough one. For me, gosh, I've ghost hunted for 4 serial killers: Jeffrey Dahmer, Ed Gein, Wayne Gacy, and I can't ever say that other dude's name, the vampire from, oh my goodness, I can't even. I've seen his head. It was decapitated, but it's okay.
From Dusseldorf.
Yeah, Dusseldorf vampire. Yeah. That's probably one of the most recent one we did was the Dusseldorf vampire. He was a man that actually drank the blood of little kids. He was a serial killer.
I don't think I've heard of him.
Yeah, he was really one of the most notorious people of all time. And I actually got to sit in the room with the head by ourselves. And we heard footsteps running towards us, and we saw an apparition down the hallway. And we were completely alone in this room with that head. And it's actually here in the Wisconsin Dells. You can go see that. So they were nice enough to let us go in there by ourselves, and no one bothered us. And we got to do a short little investigation on him, which was interesting. Most haunted place would have to either be definitely Shakers is up there. It's in my definitely top 5, I'd say. It has ties to Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer, cannibal of Milwaukee. And even some places like even Spooked in Seattle with Ross. I mean, heck, I've been there a few times with you guys and seen some things. There's also Brushy Mountain State Prison that I really enjoyed down in Tennessee. It was James Earl Ray stayed there. He was the man that was assassinated Martin Luther King. which was an incredible place. And then my last one I have to say would be Tombstone. It was the Birdcage Theater down in Tombstone. Was amazing. Goes to the Wild West.
That's pretty cool. Thank you. And Jake, what about you?
Hey, so I do have a few places that I have to say were really good all the way around. So I'll start east and go west. So the old Charleston jail, which I don't think it's available for a ghost hunt anymore. I think it was converted recently into a lawyer's office. They were going to do something with it. It's been rehabbed and stuff, but that was pretty amazing. Next up, let's come West Coast to Seattle. Of course, Spooked in Seattle was great. June, you were there when we got the shadow figure that manifested in front of the camera and walked through and blocked the light.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Everything.
I have to say.
Also, Puget Sound area, you gotta love the Walker Ames house. That's a great place to go.
That's behind me.
Yes, it is actually. And still in Puget Sound, I really like Thornwood Castle when we went there, just because of the experiences and the quality of evidence that we got, from EVPs to, are you ready for this one, guys? Doppelgangers.
Yeah, there's no explanation for that.
Couldn't explain that one. Next up, what's that?
The doppelganger story.
June, you want to do it?
The first one.
Yeah,
the first one. I was on the second floor, and all of a sudden I see Jake, and I know it's Jake because he had his jacket on and the pants he was wearing, and I saw him from behind going down the steps, and and I was like, I wonder where he's going, because in my head I even said, I wonder where he's going. And then Sandy comes up to me, which she came with us, and she said, hey June, have you seen Jake? And I said, oh, I just saw him go down the stairs. And she was like, well, I wonder where he's going. I said, I don't know, maybe he forgot some equipment. He had to go back to the apartment and get some equipment. So we're walking along, and she starts to go upstairs, and she goes, no, June, Jake is right up here on the third floor. And I was like, wow. And there's no way he, could have gotten by us. And then he was like, nope, I did not go downstairs. And I know that was Jake from behind walking down the steps.
Yeah.
Not that I was checking out Jake's behind or anything, but
I got hockey butt. I was a right winger. Hey. Yeah. So, because I was running around taking all the B-roll stuff, because I have this really nice camera. I'm like, hey, I'm going to film everything of this video. I'm going to put this all on video. But later in the night, while we were in the games room, Sandy, who hopefully she tunes in tonight, we're sitting there doing an EVP session, and one of the experiments you wanted to do, June, where we write the questions down on a sheet of paper and then you record to see if there's any responses to it. So you're not actually asking the questions. And then Sandy walked by the door. Sandy was sitting to the right of me.
And he just happens to look up and see someone that looks like Sandy, but almost exactly like her. It was exactly like Sandy.
And we were the only people in the hotel that night. So yeah. So
he gets up really quick and runs out there, and we're like, what's he doing? And it's like, yeah. So that was really weird.
And then in the Rose Red, in the video room, the movie room, we had weird stuff happen as well. So that's a good place.
And Jake was touched.
I was touched.
It was good touch or bad touch?
I was going to say, he's always been touched, June.
I like to open myself up to insults like that. Yeah. No. Next one. And, this city gets a lot of crap, but I'll say it has great haunts. And I got my first full-bodied apparition pictured there. It was in Los Angeles. I was at Suicide Bridge in Pasadena, broad daylight, just filming, taking pictures, and we got a full-bodied apparition of a lady in a black dress. The infamous part where people jump or had jumped in the past. Like, if you know the tale about the lady who threw the baby survived, and then she went over. Anyway, picture, it was on an infrared camera. It was actually in normal light setting. And one picture of a lady standing there with blonde hair, looked like blonde hair, and a black dress, standing right there. and we had video going the whole time, and it's not in video. And then my personal favorite, though, is out of Chicago. It's the Congress Plaza Hotel,
Yes.
which is at Congress and Michigan Avenue. I've been there plenty of times. I always get good stuff, from shadow figures to EVPs to just general wonkiness. However, don't buy into the EMF craziness, because they don't shield their the electrical panels and stuff. It's an old building. It's always going to be bonkers, but that's probably what helps the craziness manifest. So that's my bit.
Ooh, thank you, everyone.
Agree or disagree?
Miss Wendy. Uh-oh. We do not hear Wendy.
Uh-oh, is she chugging whiskey? What?
Sign language.
Oh,
No, sorry, I was sharing some links and
oh,
things
sorry,
like that.
sorry. I can go on. I
All
just
right,
didn't want to
all
jump
right,
in
I'm
if you
so
had something
sorry.
to share.
I dropped the ball. Sorry about that.
Don't worry, you didn't drop anything.
Not yet.
Is it crashing to the floor?
Exactly. Let's see. All right. Any place you've investigated that just absolutely scared the bejesus out of you? No,
No one's jumping in?
Mike?
I could throw one out there. It's a
Okay.
haunted doll. Ross has met her. Mandy?
I met
Oh,
her
yeah.
too.
Adrian met her too.
Yep.
2015, I was investigating there with 3 other investigators. And we had static cameras going. We had audio recorders going, the whole bit, just doing a whole Mandy the Haunted Doll investigation. And Ross, I'm not sure if I told you the full details of these stories, but our one investigator, he was staring at the doll. One of the folklore tells with the locals around there is if you stare at her, she's gonna screw with you. So he was staring at her, and he kind of went into a trance. We were like, "Hey, buddy, wake up!" And he wouldn't wake up. He wouldn't wake up. Then he just, probably about 10 minutes later, stood up, went outside, and just puked his guts out. And then, yeah, it was weird. And then I feel like I got affected by Mandy because maybe I was just really hungry. But I kind of was looking at her too, but not how he was, because I was a little creeped out at what happened to him. And I'm more of a cautious person. And so then I'm like, okay, before we start our investigation, I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to head outside, grab a snack, and then come in. And I go outside, and all of a sudden, one of our investigators starts running towards me because allegedly I was walking towards the highway, just kind of in a daze.
Oh,
In between getting my snack, I think it was peanuts to be exact, and wanting to come back in, I had diverted and kind of under trance walked towards the highway right outside the museum. Could it have been Mandy? Who knows?
I tried like looking at her and staring into her eyes, but she must have just seemed dead inside, and she just looked away.
You have no
Really
soul,
sad.
June. You
I
have to have a
know.
soul in the first place.
I know.
She's like,
Damn it.
Mandy, I'm
No.
gonna rip your soul out tonight.
No.
The odd part of that is I'm super analytical, and I always try to find a reason in everything. And I was kind of maybe in my mind calling to doll out a little bit, be like, you're just a doll. Maybe you are haunted, maybe whatever. But I think maybe I pushed the boundaries a little, and
It
that's
could
what
be.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. That's
and
interesting.
Medea in the chat is asking, that's not the doll that jumped off the table at ColdCon in Vancouver, is it?
No. Medea and I were at the Cold Spotters did a conference several years ago, and Medea and I were sitting at this table, and they were talking about this haunted doll, and she and I were just kind of looking at each other going, yeah, whatever. Swear to God, this doll jumps off the table at both of us. Nobody was around it.
Wow.
I mean, seriously, we were like, what? What happened? I can't remember all the details, but I just remember Medea picking it up and just like looking it over, making sure there were no strings. I mean, we were just like, what? How? What happened? We couldn't figure it out. I mean, it jumped off the table, not just fell off the table, it jumped off the table at least 3 feet. There's no explanation for that. We still can't get it. We don't get it. But anyway, yeah, no, that was not the doll, but I would like to see that doll again. I think Carrie has it. Yeah. But anybody else want to jump in?
I used to work at a haunted house, and I was always told that I was put in this room because they're like, you're really high energy, you're good at scaring people, you'll have plenty of room to run around, which it's not a heated building. And in Wisconsin in October, that place could drop down to the 30s. So
Oh my
super
gosh.
grateful. So one night as I'm running around, I look at the exit to this room and I thought I saw my boss. Except as I'm looking at him, I'm like, he's crouched down in this weird position. His eyes are huge. Like you just see almost all whites. And I'm like, whoa, not my boss. Not going to talk to him. Nope, I'm out. And so we had a group run through there and a woman actually just clutched her chest and dropped. And I was like, well, what is she looking at? So we had to escort her out. Later, I find out that we have at least 8 different spirit sightings, and one of them, luckily, like June and Jacob, it was a doppelganger. So it's known to appear to people and just scare the bejeezers out of them as whatever it thinks you're going to be terrified of. And so that wasn't the first heart attack we had on site.
Oh,
So
hot damn.
Goodness.
I know. I was like, oh,
That's
this is pleasant.
interesting.
Thanks for putting
Yeah.
room, guys. Awesome.
Because you don't really hear about like doppelgangers as much with haunted places,
Well, I actually have one.
Yeah. Ross has a
What?
doppelganger story
What?
too.
Do tell.
And it's
do
actually one of my
tell.
scariest experiences. So I was asked to speak in at a lecture, and so I flew into it was outside of Moundsville, West Virginia, and I was really excited about this. So what they did is they ended up putting me up at the Bel Air House. Bel Air House is notorious for its hauntings. It's been on a few shows already, but I was unaware of its paranormal history because I don't watch a lot of the shows now. I just get too frustrated with them, so I don't pay attention to all these places appearing in these shows. So what happened is they're flying us all in from various places, and so I was the first one to arrive, and so I was in the house by myself, and just kind of doing my thing. I thought, just to pass the time, I was waiting for people to arrive. I'll just do a live video feed, and the live video feed is still up on my Facebook page. And I'm just kind of, going around doing things, telling some of the stories that I had researched about the place. But nothing fazed me. I was like, no big deal. Well, who was supposed to stay with me was Dave and David. But Dave was picking up David at the airport, but Dave actually had car trouble. He had a slow leak in his tire. So he had to pull over like every hour or so to put air in his tire. So it took him forever to get to the airport to pick up David so that they could, meet me at the house. So, they get there and it was like, okay, this is interesting. Now we had that whole weekend for the conference. And so we had the house for that day to ourselves, but then later we went to another place, and because they wanted to open up that house for ghost hunters, all these ghost hunters that were coming in for the event, they could do their own little ghost hunt, stay in the place. So, so for the whole weekend, other groups were staying there. So during this weekend, I'm starting to hear more and more stories of what had happened in this house. And it's like, okay, this is definitely interesting, So after the conference, we had one extra day to kill. So they decided to see if we could go ahead and stay another day at the house. We'd have the house to ourselves. Everybody had already gone home. So we get back to the house, and the house had been, locked up for the day, and it was a really hot day. So when we got into the house, the owner said, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go in and open windows because I wasn't expecting anybody there. So when you get into the house, it's extremely hot. Now, these guys like to do some experiments where they'll investigate alone. I normally don't let my team investigate alone unless we have, full surveillance. But this was something that they like to do. So they asked if I would be willing to, stay and do a little investigation in what they called the rape room. And this is the room where there have been plenty of people physically attacked in this room. And I had already heard the stories now, so I'm very aware of what has happened in this room. And I have to tell you, in all the years that I've been doing this is, over 30 years now, for the first time in my career, I was very apprehensive of going in this room. I don't want to say I was scared, but there was just something coming over me that I just did not want to be in this room. And I had never felt this before. And I know a few of you have already worked with me for a long time, and it's like, usually I have no problem, going in any place, but this place, this one room, I just did not want to go in, and especially be alone. So, but, I just wanted to tough it up, and I'm going to get in there and do what I have to do. And I'm doing, the little EVP, session in the room. They got the cameras on me. There's a thermal camera on me. There's a standard camera on me. And so, and I'm hearing, I had heard these stories. One of the stories was one of the caretakers was almost pushed out the second story window. So I was like, okay, I kept envisioning, oh God, is this going to happen to me? And I remember the feeling just intensified, and I'm just trying to calm myself down and continue with the EVP session, and I'm being respectful. And I had asked the question, if there is somebody here, and all of a sudden the camera shot off, the thermal camera shot off the tripod and flew into the air. And I screamed. I did. It was a very manly scream, just so you know.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So of course, they hear me and come up and check on me, and it's like, yeah, the camera flew off, and so they fix the camera and they get ready and they all leave again and leave me alone in the room. Now, after that physical phenomena, this camera flying off the tripod, I was a little more concerned. Okay, so there's a physical phenomena happening. So I call out to the guys because I could hear them go out the front door, and I'm afraid that they're leaving me completely alone in the house. But I just want to make sure for safety reasons, there should be somebody close by. So if I start calling for help, somebody can come in and help me, So I start calling out to the guys. No response. And I'm calling louder and louder. And I'm thinking, oh, great, they must be outside, because I did hear the front door open and shut. So I start yelling and hoping that they'll hear me, at least through the windows or something. No one's responding. So I finally, pull up my phone and I text, David, and I said, hey, are you guys nearby? And all of a sudden I hear him yell from downstairs. We're just right downstairs. And I was like, I've been yelling for you guys. Did you guys not hear me? And he's like, no, we didn't hear you at all. And so I was like, okay, this is weird. All right. Now, apparently through the videos that they had recorded, there was some other phenomena that happened that I didn't notice. But after being in that room for, I'd probably give it a good 20 minutes that I put into that room. But remember too, it's also 100 degrees, over 100 degrees in this room. It's extremely hot. I'm sweating bullets. I'm just kind of weirded out by being in this room. I just don't want to be in this room. So I decide, what, I'm going to take a break and kind of calm my nerves down. And so I go downstairs. I'm outside and I'm cooling off, just to be outside. And I decide, just to pass the time, I do a live video feed, and I'm just standing out by the driveway doing this live video feed. And probably about 10 minutes into it, I see David come around the porch area, and he goes, oh, there you are. And I'm like, yeah, here I am. And he's like, well, Dave's been looking all over for you. I was like, I've been here the whole time. He's like, you didn't hear him yelling and stuff for you? I'm like, no, I didn't hear anything. And even people who are watching live video feed are like, no, we didn't hear it, because they're hearing everything that's going on, because I'm still going live. So that was just kind of odd, because Dave claimed that he had this weird feeling that something was going to happen to me. And so he was running around the house, even went outside yelling for me. And I didn't hear anything. So we decide to continue on with the investigation, and we're downstairs, and all of a sudden there's this strange noise upstairs. So David decides he's going to go and investigate. So he goes up and he is going to check out what could have caused that noise. It's just me and Dave downstairs, and all of a sudden we hear David yell upstairs. So immediately I'm right after him. Dave's right behind me, and we get up there, and he's like, "Oh my God!" We're like, "What happened? What happened?" He says that from the room to the left, because he was standing in the hallway, he actually saw me running towards him. And that's the room I was actually staying in. I was sleeping in that room. And so that was really interesting. And right after he explained seeing that, all of a sudden Dave screams from behind me because he claims that he saw a shadow figure running towards him from the other room. So that was probably the most intimidating investigation I had done in my career.
Wow, and you've been on some doozies, so that's saying something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, in all the years that I've done this, I've never had that feeling come over me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of getting mad at myself. I was like, why am I feeling this way? And so, yeah, I don't know if it's psychological or what, but yeah, I did not want to be in that room.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't have either. All right, June, where do you want to go next? Unmute yourself, hon. Oh, you can't?
It wouldn't let me unmute.
Oh.
I was like, okay, what's going on? All right, well, let's see here. Why don't we go? Well, why don't we play, I was going to say, if I share my screen, why don't we play a video or two and get your opinions on some things? How about that?
Let me make sure.
Okay.
You should be able to share screen, but let me make for positive.
What's that show on travel that's about caught on camera? Paranormal caught on camera? Is that it?
Paranormal caught on camera.
It's like
so we're kind of doing our own version of this.
That's right.
That's dissect.
Let's see. Can I do it yet?
Yep.
We'll see. Okay,
I think so.
Here. Make sure I get anything controversial off my screen here.
Lord.
All right. So let's see here. All right, why don't we start off with something like this? Now, this is one I actually shared. I mean, this is pretty controversial because this is pretty recent. Yeah, and if anybody has seen the documentary on Netflix, it's just makes you absolutely sick of what the husband, Ms. Chris Watts, actually did and he didn't get away with, thank God. But what was really interesting is they caught something when they went in to basically kind of investigate this. I think it was with the dogs. They went in with the dogs. But I'm just going to play this for you and see what you guys think. Is this something paranormal, or do you think it was just something strange that might have happened, a noise that just might be something else? And I'll play this, then I'll pause it after this. Can you hear everything? I just want to make sure.
I didn't have any audio.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything. On your share, did you select share?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It's like, did I?
No, I remember this. In fact, it was these stories that encouraged me or made me want to watch the documentary on Netflix, because I had heard about the stories of the hauntings that they had captured during the police investigations.
Okay, now you should be able to hear sound. Did you hear it?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No.
Sorry, everyone. Okay, I put share computer sound. How about now?
The Watts family and the strange supernatural events that were caught on video by police body cameras after their deaths. Recently, Netflix has released a documentary about the Watts family tragedy, and viewer emails have come flooding in. Now, many claim to have seen paranormal evidence in the documentary that I never explained in my last video. And then there are a lot of people who just never saw my previous video about the Watts family case. So here's a quick recap before we jump into the all-new supernatural evidence. Shanann Watts and her daughters Bella and Cece lost their lives under absolutely horrible circumstances, all at the hands of husband and father Chris Watts. In fact, the details of the case are so grim that I'm not going to go into them here. But if you want to know the full story, you can either simply Google the Watts family or check out the new Netflix documentary. Now, in this next video, which was taken right after the disappearance of Shanann Watts and her daughters, 2 female officers from the police K-9 unit go into the Watts house to investigate the strange disappearance of Shanann Watts and her 2 daughters. Obviously, this video was recorded before the tragic fate of Shanann and her children were known. The footage is 100% real. It is documented police video captured by one of the investigators' body camera.
So there's your attic access right there. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What in the world is that?
Wow.
Go in there and step on that little blue thing and see if that's where that noise came.
Yeah, it sounded like a kid toy.
It might. It sort of sounds like it.
Something. There was a. I heard it.
That one, did you hear it?
I did.
Again, I want to point out that all of this footage and the strange EVPs you just heard were captured on police body cams and released directly to.
So, what did you all think about that?
Good stuff. Yeah, I'd love to try to go over there and do an investigation. I don't know if we would be able to, but
No.
that's one of those powerful cases, I guess, that, yeah, it's sad, really. But,
Knowing the details of the case, and I know they didn't go into a lot of details, but just the horrific way that you had a mother and her 2 children lose their lives. Obviously, we can view that as being very tragic, and our emotions can get involved. But just hearing even that distinct giggle, that gave me goosebumps. Like that one was a little eerie. I think the whispers, I can always debate whispers, but something that distinct, it's like, what's in the room that can giggle? Is it a toy? Is it some sort of recording?
You got to remember too that their main focus is just to document the case. They're not trying for EVP.
Right.
We know EVP happens at any time in some of these locations. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you are dealing with a situation that they didn't know what had happened to the family yet. This is them just doing their standard investigation. So, granted, could some of these be just human error because they're talking under their own voice, whispering to each other, that type of thing? Because we all do it. We're not aware that we'll make those slight whispering noises as you're kind of talking to yourself, or trying to address something. But the giggle is definitely interesting. I'll definitely agree to that.
That made my hair stand up a little bit.
Yeah. So could it have been a toy? I don't see them going all out to see if it was a toy, because again, their main focus is not paranormal.
Right.
Their main focus is trying to find out what happened to the kids and what happened to the mother. So I think it's very possible, yes, these could be legitimate EVPs, but again, under the circumstances or the situation that these were recorded, you would have to go back and make that your primary focus. I am trying for EVPs. I am going to be following protocols to validate what I do capture.
Yeah,
I do love that one woman's though. I do love the one woman's response that she's kind of giggling under her breath and a little nervously. Like,
yeah,
did you hear that? I like that.
Yeah. So like if we played it back and went through it, you hear the no, which was pretty distinct. But the thing is that happens right. It looks like when they walk in side. So you know, they're coming. It could be anyone, any
Right.
neighbor saying
It could
something.
be her saying it too to
Yeah.
control the dog because she's got the
Correct.
dog.
That's
you know,
true.
the dog might be trying to pull and she's pulling him back
Mhm.
saying no. You know, you
And
just say
then
that
the
under your
two,
breath.
yeah, and then the two that could be just muttering under your breath. I mean, we've got body cams. I've murmured and stuff. That's very easy to, I forget the term for an audio matrix, but you know what I'm saying. And then, of course, with the giggle, I'm like, I don't know anything about the case. So I saw Celeste. I don't know if it's one of the daughters or not, but if you're hearing the giggle, it makes me think someone kicked the toy.
Mhm.
So
But
I'm
you
not,
also-
I don't get EVP out of any of the stuff that was presented.
But also consider the fact too that the people that are finding these EVPs are, you know, of course, the paranormal investigators or
Correct.
those who are interested in the paranormal.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sure we could go back and play any tape from somebody walking around a
Yeah.
house and claim to find EVPs in them. We don't know what's going on in the environment, who's talking,
Mhm.
who's all there, who's behind the camera, that type of stuff.
My
So
two questions
it's
are
very easy to pinpoint and say, oh, those could very well be
Yeah.
EVPs.
Mhm.
Again, we
Very
don't
true.
know.
my two questions are, one, did the people pass away while the investigators were in there? I haven't watched it yet. We're actually literally watching it tonight
Yeah,
after.
they're already dead.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
second,
Well,
have
wait,
they
wait,
approached those investigators?
Read it for him.
Sorry. Well, everybody's going to want to know.
Yeah.
Well, it's if you've watched the news, you should, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, in the United States, it's kind of a common case to know that they did pass away.
Have they asked the investigators outright if that's their voice? Like, have anyone made that contact?
Well, I think you're dealing with a situation where, you know, the police are probably not going to even consider it. They're going to just, you know, like, whatever, you guys, we got more things to deal with than your, you know, hooky ghost hunting stuff. You
100%.
know?
Yeah.
You know, so it's a situation where we'll never get the answers that we want unless one of those people that were involved or that were there is willing to come forward and say, oh yeah, no, I believe in this stuff and this is, you know, exactly what happened. So right now it's just, you know, people, you know, reviewing a lot of these, you know, investigation tapes and videos and, you know, and there's other things too. You know, I don't know if you're going to play the whole thing, June, or
I think he was going to go on to say that, yeah, let me just go. Sorry. He was going to debunk one of the things that people have seen, which was
is that
pretty
the
good.
stairway?
So, let's see here. Sorry. Let's try that too, because
to the public, so nothing was tampered with and nothing could possibly be faked. Now, even creepier, 1 month after the tragic incident in the Watts home, police are called back to the empty house because neighbors report seeing a woman moving around inside the home. Also, someone had turned on the inside garage lights. When they went inside, police found no one. But some viewers believe they might have caught something else. As a police officer is standing at the top of the stairs, it almost looks as if some small shadow peeks out from behind him, just for a second.
so I'll stop that for a second. You know, that could even, what if he has a jacket or something,
Yeah,
you know?
I was going to say that
It's
could
like,
be a jacket he took off because it's warm inside, and it's
Yeah.
if you look between his legs, that's what I was primarily looking for. Is a jacket would sway like that, you know?
Does he have
I
a
don't know.
flashlight on his gun?
Yeah.
Well, another thing too to point out, when you watch the very beginning of the video, there's actually another gate. There's a child safety gate at the top of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got, if he's opening or moving that gate, it's going to be crossing between, you know, the railings of the stairs themselves. And then of course the railings of the gate itself can produce an optical illusion of something possibly there as those those pieces of wood, you know, cross with each other.
No one. But some viewers believe they might have caught something else.
Could be.
As a police officer is standing at the top of the stairs, it almost looks as if some small shadow peeks out from behind him, just for a second.
It's hard to tell, it's just with it so pixelated.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a jacket or something like that when I see it. I will say, though, the
Now,
house
there's also-
reminds me of the house from Paranormal Activity.
100%.
Remember that?
Too.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Saw that. I'm just.
Another moment caught by police cameras that I did not point out in the previous video.
Hey Nudes, I just want to let you know I've been watching this documentary that everybody's been talking about, and right here in this room there's a little girl standing right here playing. She's wearing like an orange shirt, and there's another girl right there, right there, right there, and there's another one right here, movement. You see her right here? See, another girl.
Yeah. Okay.
There she go. There she is. Okay. Maybe you can look into it.
Now, many people have sent me this clip after seeing it on the Netflix documentary. Some believe that it might show the ghost of one of the little girls caught on camera. But the real explanation of this clip is something much more explainable. You see, the little girl in this footage is actually the daughter of Shannon's friend, Nicole, who
At least we know
reported
that
Shannon missing. The little girl is simply playing in one of the Watts girls' rooms. As further evidence, Nicole and
That's
her daughter
creepy.
are seen on the police officer's body cam footage several times during the day that Shannon and her girls were reported missing. So this clip is nothing paranormal. However, there is some new, very odd, and possibly paranormal video that has been getting a lot of attention over the last week. So YouTube ghost hunter Franco TV was traveling through Colorado and
Now, I'm not putting too much at stake on Franco TV. Honestly, I'm just going to come right out and say it. But this could be interesting.
decided to stop and pay his respects to the Watts family house. He leaves a teddy bear on the doorstep, putting it with other gifts of condolence left by visitors. He is broadcasting his trip to the house live to his Patreon members, but he has no plans of doing any ghost investigating. Frank is simply paying his respects. But then he catches something very, very strange.
Hey guys, so this video is going to be a little bit different than my normal videos. This wasn't supposed to be an adventure. It was only supposed to be me going to the Watts house to pay my condolences. I am up to date with what was going on with the whole situation, and I wanted to visit the house and drop off a teddy bear that I had purchased. However, I did decide to bring my live stream with me for Patreon, and something completely unexpected happened upon recording. Now, let's use a thermal imaging camera and seeing what we can see. This should actually be pretty interesting. Hold on, let me put the tan cam away for a second. That's the house through the thermal. This thing is awesome. I think I'm the only one. Ooh, that was weird. I don't know if that was me, but I think I saw... You know what's weird? Look at the front, the top window to the right. That one's the only one that it looks like there's something behind it. What is unnerving is that you don't see anything. Look at that. I am literally getting a heat signature right in front of that window. Like someone's standing there. Alright, so right now this video footage is only just so I could get a high definition footage. I'm going to be recording with a different camera on my thermal imaging because unfortunately I can't take the videos off of it. So this is just to show you that both windows are open. That's the window that I was seeing weird movement from. And apparently these two rooms, what I just read online, was the two little girls' rooms. What the hell is that? What is that? Does that look like someone with their head in their hand holding against the window? Look, and now it's changing. There it goes. What the hell am I seeing? Again, this is coming straight from an infrared perspective.
So, thoughts?
My question is, if he's going to go pay condolences, why is he rolling hard with a temperature
Yeah,
camera
that's what I was going to say. I was like, man, something
Yeah,
don't seem right around
and a
there.
backup camera
Yeah.
and a live stream? That's, in my
Mhm.
opinion, if you're just playing respects, that's not overly respectful. You're
No,
just
I
trying to
agree.
get paranormal
agree.
clout.
Exactly.
That's the first thing I noticed with him.
Well, just to try and debunk what he could be experiencing, my question is this window, does this have a screen? You know, maybe that window doesn't have a screen on it and this one does. So you're going to get a totally different reflective surface if there's a screen on that window. So, and again, people don't seem to understand that thermal cameras can also pick up reflection off of shiny surfaces. So
Like I was wondering if it could be the street light. I mean, could it
well,
be a
if it was a
reflection?
street light, you would still get it on the upper level as well. So
Unless it's a short one.
I'm going to assume that there is a screen on this window and the other one may have fell out or they took it out or whatever. So that's one of the things that you're going to have to go back and look. You know, if there is a screen in that window, the screen pattern itself is going to change your perspective on what you're seeing, and the pixelation as well. So that's going to change it as well. As you can see, the window right next to it is not a window that's going to open up to have a screen. So that's what my first guess is you have to find out what is over that window, because it's the whole window itself. If it had been paranormal, you would have still seen the blue on the other side of it and then the figure.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's what I was wondering.
It was too uniform across the square. That was the big thing for me. At first I was thinking the reflection bit. I'm like, well, what's across the street?
That's what I
from
was
it
thinking. I
that's
thought
being
maybe it was the
and
light.
at first I'm like, it could be anything sticking up, but as you see it go across the entire square, it has to be something uniform across that squared area.
Yeah, because you guys are right in your first guess. You know, was it something reflective off the street, a street lamp or something like that? But again, if that was the case, it would have been in the top part of the window as well. But you're looking at a situation where the surface is actually different than the other three windows around it.
And it would have to be a different material, because if it were the same material, it would be purplish.
I'm assuming he's just capturing something reflecting off the screen of the window.
I concur.
I concur with that too.
But he's creepy. That dude is creepy.
He's a scary man, scary monster guy.
Yeah, that's not nice for your Patreon.
Yeah.
Come on.
Anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. I wanted to kind of share it with you and see what you guys thought.
Oh, it's great. I love having these discussions because, you know, for one, I'm always about educating people. You can't always just point at everything and say it's a ghost. That's too easy. The hardest work of being a paranormal investigator is trying to debunk it. And believe me, there are times when you can't, you know, explain everything. But in that situation, of course, we're not there. We weren't there when it was captured. But, you know, just looking at the full window itself, you know, that I'm going to say there was a screen there.
So I'll say, being a ghost hunter, you learn about a home improvement pretty well. Trade work.
From cold spots to
HVAC units, you got them fans and all kinds.
Well, you're studying that, so you're going to learn all about that stuff.
Well, I'm going into construction management.
Cool.
A bachelor degree now.
That's the place to be.
Okay.
Well, maybe do we want to just do a couple more questions and then try another video, or just go to another video?
Sure. Okay. A lot of people claim to get scratched, touched, you know, reach out and touch somebody on a lot of these investigations. And I was just curious as to how you all felt about that. You know, can the scratches be explained away? Can the touches or the feels, you know, are some actual possible entities, or is it all, you know, just a heightened nervous system that's creating things, or both?
Well, I think the phenomena itself has not been investigated enough.
Okay.
There needs to be more research that goes into physical phenomena and what is occurring to the physical body when you claim to have these experiences. There definitely does need to be some more research into that. You know, the problem is, you know, being due to the hype of ghost hunting, you got a lot of people out there that are attention seekers. You know, I've been on cases where people have purposely scratched themselves and blamed it on the ghost. I had a case where, you know, a mother was sending me, you know, hand marks and bruises on her children, claiming it was a ghost, and come to find out it was just an abusive mother that we had to report, you know. So does physical phenomena happen? I believe it is very possible. But then there's also situations where people don't pay enough attention to their body when they're walking around in these abandoned places. They can easily get scratched, and you don't feel it right away. You know, it's just that when the stinging part and the burning part starts to happen, that's when you start to notice, oh, does that something happen? Now, of course, you know, running into a nail in an abandoned place isn't going to mark 666 on you. You know?
That'd be amazing.
Probably not. Yeah.
But does it happen? I believe it does happen. But again, there's a lot of it where I've also wondered the psychological aspect of it that I'm very curious about. If you put yourself in a situation where obviously you're afraid, you're in a scary old place, you think you're hearing things, can we manifest it ourselves? And that's something that, you know, we constantly, you know, question. But we also know through science, concentrated ions can burn the skin. So you can have situations where ions can actually cause a tear in tissue. So there could be something behind the science of it as well. So I think it's one of those things that, you know, for me personally, I have been pushed. I felt like I was pushed. My first physical encounter was when I felt somebody's hand on my shoulder, and it physically stopped me from stepping backwards. You know, when I felt that, I turned around and I was expecting to see another member standing behind me. Nobody was there, but I felt the weight of a man's hand, the pressure of his fingers. I wasn't scared at the moment. You know, I was just doing a casual investigation, just taking pictures. You know, then I was stepping back to get a wider angle, and somebody stopped me. So, you know, I think there's just more research that needs to go into that to find out what is exactly happening. But I think, yeah, it's definitely possible.
Good answer.
So on my side, I'll go with some of my investigations. I normally don't talk about this because Ross and June, you guys know me pretty well. I usually throw out anything to do with touch. Throw it all out.
Even when I touch
I will. I know, in a very special way.
Yes, he throws me out completely. Just kidding.
But I will say, and I usually don't put this in my reports. So if you go out to my website, you can read our ghost hunt reports, and sometimes I'll log this, sometimes I don't. But I have found when I'm going to get really, really good evidence, like a really clear EVP, or I'm going to get like a trigger object going off, using the Walker Ames house for an example, because I usually always get really good evidence there. Right before something happens, I can feel a pressure on my temples or on the top of my head.
Okay.
Is it tingly or is it just a pressure?
No, it's just a pressure. It's just a pressure, and sometimes it feels like static electricity around me, which could just be the ion thing that we were talking about.
Absolutely.
But I will say, before I get my very best evidence, I'll call it, I get a weird feeling like that. And
see,
it
that's
lasts maybe for a minute, and then it's done. But like I said, I usually don't report about it. I usually don't report.
And you should. You really should. You should verbally state that on your recorder video whenever you have those feelings, to see what the outcome is afterwards. It only is going to help us to determine, are you psychically projecting that? You know, that's one of the things that we don't understand enough about the paranormal field. Are we projecting some of this phenomena? And in that situation where you're feeling that, it could be projection, or it could be you're just sensitive to the environment when something's about to happen.
He could be receiving as opposed to projecting.
Right.
One of the investigators on my team does the exact same thing. She gets a headache, Then I'm kind of go, here we go. And then we'll get some evidence, be it a knock or an EVP.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's so important that people need to document these feelings for credibility reasons. Because again, if you see patterns to this, it's going to help us to narrow down the phenomena that we're experiencing. Is it actually being projected or received? So that's we don't know.
Right. Michael, Madysen?
Well, I've been hit several times, touched several times, all kinds of weird stuff. I think
we got that touching on tape.
Oh yeah, yes. We don't talk about those films now. That'll cost you. That's tough times.
His OnlyFans is Michael Ghost Hunter XXX.
That's my real OnlyFans. Those were tough times financially. So you gotta make your money. But anyways, I got touched recently. There was a man I met here in Wisconsin. I'll say the man touched me, but
like, where is this going here?
I don't know, man. It's all coming out wrong.
Just wait.
She went to this stuff, but all right. So we go to this man's house, and
did he have candy?
Honestly, yeah. That was the scary part too.
Stop.
He had some Reese's peanut butter cups, and they're really good. Okay,
He was really tempted.
Doesn't take much, does it?
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Cheap date.
So,
and Madysen, how did you lure him in? Kit Kat.
About it.
I don't know.
It was $100,000 bar, wasn't it?
There you go.
How did you know?
I'm from Wisco too.
Yeah, this was crazy though. We got to this gentleman's house, and he invited us in. I didn't know anything about the house. I didn't know there was it was haunted or nothing. And all I had with me was my K2. We had a digital recorder. I was like, okay, this is just going to be probably a fluke. Just kind of not really expecting anything to happen. Like, okay, I'm just going to hang out with this guy, show him some ghost hunting, just practical gear, get in, get out. Well, I didn't know this, but we went into this bedroom, and I started asking questions, and there was no electrical interference, nothing like that, for the K2 meter to go off like it was. But it was shooting up to red due to intelligent questions. Well, little did I know, underneath his bed was his mom's cremated ashes. And I was talking to his dead mother, and I had no idea. And I felt this sharp pain just right in the back of my head. And it felt like someone hit me with a cane. Now, I didn't know this man's mother was deceased or even cremated underneath his bed. We had no idea. So I looked around, I was like, what just hit me? Like, I'm 6'1", I'm like a giraffe. Sometimes I'm clumsy as can be, and I'll hit my head on whatever. So I'm like, did I just hit my head against something? What it felt like was someone taking a walker hitting me in the back of my head. Turns out it was his deceased mother, because she had a walker, and he even had the walker in his house. And that really spooked me pretty bad. And you even had something happen to you there too at that private investigation we did.
Yeah, that place was, it was interesting. And I think between that location and there was a location that I went to that I did get scratched at. And what I've noticed from both of those locations is that whenever you start to let your guard down, and whether that, if you're looking at the belief of chakras and how people say that personally, how your emotions are coming out, how your emotions and energy are being materialized, you're affecting the energy around you. You're looking at physics, and your energy is influencing the other energy. And so thinking about that, when you do make yourself vulnerable, how does that impact the electrical fields around you and the ions and everything else? So, I mean, it was an area where we're both feeling vulnerable because we were in someone's personal home. When I got scratched, it was when I was in a bathroom and I was starting to shower, and I was like, why is the water stinging my wrist so much? And I just had a single 3-inch scratch just going right down my wrist. And I'm going, there's blood. I know I didn't do that because I would have felt that.
Right.
But it's just fascinating to see this kind of interesting this interesting intersection of science and culture, but also just human emotion and expression, especially as you're ghost hunting, and how that plays into it too, both in a very scientific manner, but also in just a very human manner. The part that we're trying to remove ourselves from as we explain things.
Cool. Well, I know my dogs have always liked to come up behind me and poke me in the back with their noses, and I've lost a few over the years. And I'm short, so, and they were all tall, so, you know, mid back or whatever. And I have occasionally been poked like that and turn around to expect one of my dogs to be there, and nothing. So did one of the deceased come by and say something? I know
Just
I
getting
didn't
your
back
attention.
into
It's like,
anything.
hey,
Exactly.
I'm still here.
Hey, Ma. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, is that something I just want to think happened, or did I feel something? Who knows? I like it. I get comfort from it. So
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've had
Aw.
sheets pulled down too. I don't know if you guys have ever just slept at a haunted place and the sheets just get pulled off the bed, or like it's pulling you into it. And I've had that happen to me a few times. And that's, you know, I don't know if that's, you know, paranoia. I mean, there's several things, but I have had that happen before. Sheets being pulled too while you're sleeping.
Yeah, I haven't had that. I have had, and usually this only happens at haunted hotels.
Yeah.
For me, is, and I always call it just a muscle twitch, but I've been in places where it felt like someone's going,
Mhm.
tapping me on the arm or on the shoulder or something. And, you know, of course, it's always after midnight or I'm crashed out or something like that. But
Muscle spasm.
usually I always say, probably a spasm, whatever. Leave me alone.
But you don't know won't hurt you, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, why don't we, or actually one more question.
Well, actually,
So,
on
go
the
ahead.
subject of touch for Canada, Mike.
Oh, yes, Canada,
When you
Mike.
had the choking experience, did you have any other feelings? Like, you know, I talked about the static electricity or feeling the pressure on the head. Did you have anything like that before it happened?
We actually had a psychic that night with us. And right off the get-go, before we even started our investigation, he's like, this guy doesn't like you here. This guy doesn't like you here. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'll be respectful and all that stuff, right? And I was extra respectful that night. I was polite when we were investigating. And when we were up in the bedroom right before it happened, the psychic, he started getting extremely aggressive towards me. He was getting extremely agitated at anything I was saying. And then all of a sudden it got kind of cold in there, like your typical cold feeling. And then I felt really unwelcome, like I wanted to tuck tail and run out of there. But I'm like, no, we're going to document, research, and continue our session. And then it got a little colder just around me, and I almost felt like wind. And then like not like a windstorm, just like something walking by me. And then it just went like this. And then there was like a squeeze. And then in my mind, I'm like, oh, F, this actually does happen. And then I was a little panicky because I couldn't control the situation. Like, my job has made me like that. I need to control the situations I'm in. And I just left. I had to leave the building. I got sick in the flowers, and I was reluctant to go back inside for the rest of the night, but I did. Another story about an investigator getting touched. This was at a place actually I was with before with June and Ross. It's a place called Barkerville. And I'm not sure if I told you guys this story, but he was in the Tong building, which was the old Chinese Freemason equivalent building in the old part of the city. And he went into where the Tong would have their meetings, and he said, "Are any of you people in here?" Which may come across as not overly respectful. And he's like, I just walked through cobwebs, and I'm filming him, right? And he's like, come on, are any of you people here? And sounds kind of rude. And then all of a sudden he started to freak out. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? And then he just left. He left the building. He went outside, and he threw his jacket. This was in March, so it would have been -1 or 2 because it's way up north. And he took his jacket off, he took his shirt off, and all of a sudden you just saw scratches like that on his back. And the unique part of that is we have it filmed. And the other part of that is when I have the camera on his back, you see the scratches coming up. Like, you know, when you fresh get scratched, you just see the scratch coming. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Freaky.
Yeah. Translation: -1 or 2 is about 29, 30 degrees
Fahrenheit.
That's too cool.
Chilly.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
Can you
incredible.
do that for us in kilometers as well?
I can. Yes.
All right.
This is the whole having family on both sides of the border. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
So, Mike, how cold does it get in Canada up where you are? I'm just curious.
Where I am, it was a beautiful sunny day today. We were +14, which would be an American, part Canadian.
56, 58. 56, 58. Yeah.
Where I live, it'll get to -10 on the worst day ever, but that will be one day, which is
that's not horrible.
no. We have Seattle.
You're close to Vancouver. Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
So,
I'm
yeah.
about to go through my first winter ever in Wisconsin. I'm
Oh
scared.
my God.
Like
That's Manitoba cold, dude.
I'm from Tennessee.
Manitoba cold.
So
I lived in Wisconsin for like 2 years, so I remember as a kid how crazy it was. Yeah, East
I'm
Troy,
scared.
Wisconsin.
Oh, you're right next to Milwaukee. Okay.
Yeah.
So Superior, you might as well just say Manitoba.
It's too
I
cold.
went to,
That's
I went to
inhumane.
Thunder Bay.
St. Thomas
Thunder Bay,
Aquinas
Ontario. Thunder
Catholic
Bay, yeah.
School.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
But then, like, back to the touching stories is I tried to dissect that in my head. We talked, like, we debriefed with my team after doing that, and we debriefed with the other team back in Barkerville, and he didn't stage it. I didn't stage it. I'm all about the honesty and integrity and investigating.
Right.
So how do you go about articulating that? I just recently started to talk about like that story and that Mandy story I mentioned earlier, because I don't feel comfortable talking about that stuff that's happened to me, because I know a lot of people automatically poo-poo that stuff.
well,
And-
that's the biggest problem we have in this field is not enough documentation.
Agreed.
You know, the documentation only helps to make your experiences more credible.
Yep.
So, you know, getting people to make sure you're recording video and audio at all times, even a little bit after the investigation. You shouldn't stop investigating until you actually sit in your car and turn the car on and you're leaving.
100%.
Right? Because things happen at all times. You know, taking notes, making sure people aren't giving leading information. You know, you should, I have my team, we are responsible for keeping a journal during the investigation. They're documenting like every, 5 to 10 minutes, what's going on when they walk into a room, when they leave the room. That is a full outline of the full investigation. So everybody is accounted for. You can call out a time and say, okay, something happened at 10:55. Everybody can pull out their journal and tell you exactly what was going on at 10:55.
Like, sorry, that's when I knocked over a chair upstairs. And everybody's like,
Yeah.
that was the noise. Okay.
Yeah. So it's helped us to debunk things and also to help support the credibility that maybe that was something paranormal.
100%.
So you really need to get your team to start documenting everything, even feelings that they get. You know, like, when Jacob says, I feel, that buzzing, that energy, he should be writing it down. Even if you get that aching feeling in your stomach, write it down. It could have been Taco Bell. It may be paranormal. You don't know. But if everybody writes down those feelings, and then when you come together and you review everybody's journals and you start to find the patterns and the coincidences, that just helps make your investigation more credible. And that's the biggest problem we have in this field is there's not a lot of teams that are building that credibility. And I'm not trying to say, they're trying to fool us or anything. They just don't know how. They don't know the importance of it.
What we've started doing is we'll document claims, like say that ABC happens at this place, and then we'll investigate and we regurgitate our feelings and experiences on the same Word document, and we been keeping logs.
Well, I think
like that too.
the biggest credibility is going to be having your team going cold not having any prior information about where they're going. In fact, I don't even tell my team where they're going. Unless
Gotcha.
we've already been there before. The only information they know where they're going, they know about the investigation is what city it takes place in, and if it's a private home or a business. That is all they know when they sign up for an investigation.
I will say though, if you're a tech manager, you need to know what kind of gear to bring. So we need a little more than that because I got
that's
cameras
up
and
to
shit
the
to
team,
bring.
right? And that's up to the team lead. The team
Ross.
lead should, have an outline of what kind of equipment they want to bring on the investigation. Because another thing you have to know, are you dealing with something that's residual or are you dealing with something that's intelligent?
Mhm.
Because that's going to change your whole investigation. If you're dealing with something residual, then it's not going to, interact with you if you say, oh, if you're here, can you please make a noise? Residual haunting's not going to do that.
No.
So you got so if you are dealing with something intelligent, then you're going to want to try and do some different experiments and have more equipment that's going to help you read the environment and see if there's an intelligent response. So, I think a lot of it is just the lack of training and that is out there, because most people in this field get their training from watching every episode of Ghost Hunters. and you really don't get anything from that. You don't.
Yeah, that's sad training.
You get to see some
Especially Ghost
really great
Adventures.
evidence-producing gadgetry.
Like Jake says, if you need a ghost, you know what to use to have an instant ghost.
Exactly what kind of equipment you need to get a ghost.
A ghost.
Well, I'm just keeping this short. Believe me, I could go on for hours.
Yes,
I know. I want him to rant. But I will say one of the reasons why I don't log my feelings necessarily is because when I put out, because I'm all objective type dude here, is I want to make sure people use things that can be replicated. Because if it can't be replicated, you will never be able to convince folks. Now, I know we're talking about the paranormal. It doesn't work on command, right? But you still have to provide the stuff that may be an objective evidence source. And feelings are not objective.
Right.
But what happens
are just
if
a story? We have to trust the person stating their feelings.
But what happens if all of a sudden you get that tingly feeling when you walk into a room, and then all of a sudden it's like, and 2 hours later, somebody else goes in the room and has that same tingly feeling. It could be.
And see, so it makes your experience and that
Centralia.
person's experience more credible.
Yeah. True.
So, no matter what, just write down your feelings. Don't state it out loud.
Continuity.
And you really shouldn't be stating your feelings out loud. You should just be writing it down, because it helps you for a lot of different reasons. It helps you for the patterns when, again, other investigators have the same feelings in the same spaces. Okay. Is it environmental? Is it psychological? Or is it paranormal? Those are some things that we have to look into.
Or Taco Domar.
Yeah.
Or Taco Domar. Or
So,
carbon monoxide.
but also too, it's going to help us by having that credibility in validating these experiences. I'm trying not to go off tangent here. Sorry.
No, this is entertaining. We need it for our listeners.
He was the angry ghost. He was the angry ghost.
I did. I had a show called The Angry Ghost Hunter for a while, but I really want to express that so much, because even when you have those feelings, like Jake said, it's nice to have the equipment to back up those feelings too. It's nice to be able to go in and validate that, when I walk into this room, I get that heavy pressure in the top of my head. But again, by having the equipment, we might be able to explain away why there's that heavy pressure. It could be environmental. So by having those readings as well, we're just using all of our equipment together to help, prove or disprove these encounters. And that's where I don't see enough going into this field. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I always use this as a valid point here, is if you watch Ghost Hunters' very first episode, and then you watch their very last episode, what has really changed in the 12 years that they've been around? Next to nothing. And that's a lot with these shows, that especially the ones that have been around for a long time. They've had these opportunities to grow and learn from this field, but they don't. They stay the same. They might add a new gadget here or there, but that's pretty much about it. By now, I wish I could advance this, field so much further, but I don't have the funds. I don't have a television show that's going to rake in the money so I can put my dream ideas into reality, because a lot of the stuff does cost a lot of money that I'd want to bring into this field, but I at least try to continue to advance us and get my team to look outside the box and not just do what you see on TV, and to, again, document every little thing, because it is all so much more important in building the credibility.
I agree.
Well said. Well
Keep
said.
going.
I'll just say spirit box. Okay, let him go.
Oh my God. No.
Downloaded.
Oh no.
Let's see. Can I kick Jake out?
Beatbox.
You know, I'm just trying to get that engagement from the viewers over here on the Facebook.
I mean, the Portal app. The Portal app.
Portal
Oh
Just
my
let me see
God,
which
yes.
one I put on
Don't
my
get
phone
me
just for
started
shits and giggles.
on the spirit boxes.
Them demons in there.
It was really bad.
Demons in that box.
I will do it if you want me to, but I'm afraid I
we
might
won't
piss
do
off a
that.
lot
We
of
won't do
people.
I did download one of those apps just to see how awful it was. I think we were doing ghostly cinema and we were watching Ghost Brothers, and they pulled out their phones in the apps. I'm just like,
my
wait,
God.
what?
Yes.
And I got
It was pretty funny, actually.
it was Sono. It's by Ludai, and it is called the Sonos something. It's awful. It's horrible. However, it has a really nice interface. It looks really cool. But it's awful.
But the worst thing about the apps is people don't realize that these apps can easily be, they're taking advantage of all the other outlets on your phone, because your phone is basically a mini computer. So a lot of these apps can easily embed audio. They can embed audio that due to the GPS now knows exactly where you are. So it can say, oh, you're at, the Rolling Hills Insane Asylum. Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say to make this even more scarier for you.
Demon.
Yeah,
Demon.
exactly. Demon, or it might even say Rolling Hills, and things to make it more credible for the investigator. And there's a lot of those apps that are doing that. There's ghost photo apps that'll say it's a ghost camera, and yeah, it embeds ghosts in your actual photos. There's EVP apps that will actually have pre-recorded audio that'll go into your recording. So there's a lot of those, and people don't look at the fine print that says for entertainment purposes only. And so there's a lot of those apps that ghost hunters are using just because it's so fascinating when they actually have something that they believe is true paranormal phenomena when it's not. It's manipulated.
They want to have something to show without really having any proof, just to sell something or get by, essentially.
Well, people are making money off of it. People are making bank off the paranormal.
Right.
They really are, because they're producing these apps that people are paying, 99 cents for, or $1 or $5 for. You think, oh, $5 is not much for you to spend, but think of the hundreds and hundreds of people that are paying for that.
Yeah.
Hundreds
It
of
builds
thousands
up.
of people.
Thousands,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Hey, we need to come up with our own app.
And the fact of the matter is, if you're going to produce an app that's not going to give you anybody any results, who's going to buy it?
Right.
No one.
Right.
No.
So why
That's
not produce an app that's going to give you results?
That's
Instant
right. That's why the
ghost.
people watch the Ghost Adventures, because they've always got the evidence coming. You watch
And they
it.
don't realize that we sit in a room for 3 hours in silence, and that's real ghost hunting with them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nobody
folks don't realize how
would
boring
wanna,
it is.
Yeah, nobody would really want to watch a real ghost hunt on TV, because they'd be like, "Oh my God, when's something going to happen?"
That's one of the things that annoyed me about the ghost hunts live.
Yes.
I'm like, how can you go through an hour and guarantee that you're going to have multiple things happen? We're lucky to have one thing happen in 2 hours.
Because they've got the right gadgets. They've got the right gadgets. Like last year with Haunted Salem Live. Oh, and if we really want to sit and critique something, this is not an endorsement, but Nick Groff is doing Seance Live at the Conjuring House through Showcase. He's selling tickets. They're going to do a live 3-hour seance from it. So I can't wait to see that one.
You can
October
see
30th.
Yeah.
it too now.
I'm sure something's going to be flying around,
Mhm.
scratching somebody, hitting somebody upside the head. Yeah.
So I know
And
we're
it's all going to
crapping-
look like bull manure. Sorry.
I know we're crapping all over the I guess the commoditization of ghost apps and all this, but I've really recently gotten into this podcast called The Dollop, and they focused one of their Halloween episodes on the evolution of spiritualism and how we went from the Fox sisters and how they were making up knocking and they were cracking their joints and going, it's a ghost, cool. But I think it's really amazing, though, that we can have these conversations now because so many more people are open to it as opposed to saying,
that's right.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you're a ghost.
Right.
You know,
No,
or I'm
and
sure
that's
you
the thing is how much, ghost hunting has evolved. Because when I started this field, I've always said you're probably in the situation where you're not going to admit to people that you're a ghost hunter.
Right.
Because people would
not a
just
problem.
avoid you, but now you say you're a ghost hunter and you're a rock star. Everybody wants to hang out with you. And that's how much it's changed because of the television shows, to be all honest. That's what really kicked open the door for ghost hunting is this excitement that, wow, maybe there is something to this, that we're not really wasting our time hanging out in the dark. So
I do want to go ghost hunt Joe Exotic Zoo Land.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Well, on October 28th, we can watch the 2-hour Ghost Adventure special about that.
Yes. All them lines.
Oh my
Lines
goodness.
and lines.
they should be investigating Karens.
Yes.
Carol.
We need
Or
to
Carols, yeah.
And Carols.
That just might come down to, why is there this strange acid residue in the bathtub? It might just be a forensic investigation, what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
June, do you want to do another of your
Ross
Yeah, maybe we'll do
ranted,
another
mission
video.
accomplished, mission accomplished.
Oh, somewhat.
Yeah, he could have really gone.
I'm trying not to drive away all your fans,
Okay, let's try another one here.
Fake.
Okie dokie.
Let's see. Oh, this is, this isn't the one I wanted to play, but we'll play this one now.
It's a quaint little pub in a little village in rural Kent, but there's something strange in this neighbourhood. Security cameras in the Tyler's Kiln have captured some mysterious movements at night. Over months, the motion sensors show stools moving, umbrellas popping open, and doors swinging, all while no one's around.
Obviously there's no explanation, it's some sort of spirit.
Alistair Collins owns the pub and maintains this isn't a stunt,
course
isn't
not.
a G-up.
The footage picked this moving like this. All on its own, no one else in the building.
There's no fishing wire pulling it back or
No
anything,
fishing
mate?
wire, certainly not. No draft that could cause that.
But this skeptic still isn't convinced.
Have a go, have a go. See if we can see if I can
Dragging
get a
it
ghost.
and try and make it smooth.
Am I close?
I think so, but you
Pull
can
it
just
from the
see
bottom.
that it's quite
Yeah, I was gonna say.
tufty.
Okay, but the
It's
umbrella...
different momentum.
Surely that can be
Yeah,
fake.
I mean, you can't see the bottom of what popped it
Might
up
be
there.
ahead.
So I'd be in shot now, wouldn't
You'd be in shot and you'd have to, I think you'd have seen it.
If it is a ghost, the theory is it's Gilbert, the old landlord.
He died here in 1978 and
Of that mug.
a bit of a stickler for tradition. Maybe he doesn't like what I've done with the place.
So you've got Gilbert the Ghost after you now.
Gilbert the Ghost, yeah, great name.
Who are you going to call?
Not Richard Hosking, the electrician. He's got his own ghoulish story from when he was doing the renovations.
I heard the swing doors go and then footsteps up the stairs.
So Richard called out to the only other person in the pub.
He came out of the kitchen behind me. There was no one upstairs, so...
What did you think then?
Yeah, a little bit freaked out. Just got on with the day, really.
This is a stool that apparently mysteriously was pulled back. Luckily it pushes in as well. And in a pub with plenty of spirits, plenty of beers, I have a ghost chip, thanks. Cheers.
Perhaps it's not surprising that after a few, people tend to see and even hear a few things. True or not, it's just in time for Halloween, and the attention is bringing in even more punters.
What do you do with Gilbert? What do we do? Well, we've been asked whether we want to perform an exorcism, but he doesn't seem to be a scary ghost. Nothing malicious has happened.
Ah, friendly ghosts. The very best sort. In Kent, Michael Best, 9 News.
Well, before
Is that paranormal?
Yeah.
He's a ghost. He was the ghost all along. What a twist.
Before we start talking about that, I want to know how many times has anyone been interviewed and they've used the Ghostbusters soundtrack in the background?
Oh my God. I can't even tell you back in the day how many times they always played Ghostbusters when I was on all the radio shows. Every time. So, but I do have to say, I like the reporter. I do like his attempt to try and debunk things. There was definitely a couple of the umbrella things that were a little interesting, but it could have been wind as well. Gust of wind could have pushed it up if it wasn't always locked down. But again, the momentum as he was trying to pull the chair away is going to be different if he had pulled it from the bottom. So a lot of those could have easily been done with fishing wire, as he said. A lot of that, all those tricks could have been done with fishing wire.
Well, I like how they said too, that it was bringing in more people. So it's
well,
like,
that's the thing is people don't seem to understand that a lot of this stuff is faked for the attention because it does bring business.
Not saying it is faked, but
I'm not saying that, it very well could have been paranormal.
I will go to Australia to try to redo these.
Yes, we need to go and try to.
Let's do it.
Oh, just wait. They won't let us in right now.
Oh, yeah. No,
Canada,
nobody
Mike,
will
you
let
get
us
to go.
in. Nobody.
Colonials.
Nobody will let Americans in anywhere right now.
Crazy.
Diseased.
But yeah, he did make an attempt to try and debunk a lot of that stuff. I can't say yay or nay because I wasn't there. That's the biggest thing is people want a stamp of approval, say, yes, this is paranormal. And you can't. No matter what evidence people, submit to you, you cannot guarantee that it's paranormal because you were not there.
Right.
All we can do, the best we can do is just offer ways to try and debunk it and say, okay, if it's not that, then, maybe it is a ghost. We're not sure. So I'd like to believe, maybe they did experience paranormal phenomena, but like I said, it's so easy to manipulate a lot of that stuff. And all those videos that he showed could have easily been manipulated.
Yeah, I think that's one of the other things when it comes to the haunts. You have to go back multiple times before you can really say anything. And that's the one thing you don't really get, especially I find with private residences, because you're going to get in like one time, let's be real.
Right.
There's
been sometimes private residents we've gone back a couple times.
Few, but in general, most people aren't going to get to go back like 6 times.
Right.
With our private residence investigations, we tell them right off the bat that we prefer to do more than one, so we can kind of have a benchmark, so to speak, of activity. And we usually get about 2 to 3.
Well, that's great. Most teams will go once, and if they don't get anything right away, they're bored and move on to the next.
And that's unfortunate because like a lot of people ask me, because like right now I'm helping out a place close to where I live. They do tours every week because it's Halloween. It's an old hotel. It's got a lot of wicked history, and they run a historic tour, and I help them with a ghost hunt, like up until Halloween. And so we get all these eager people coming, and they go, "Are we going to get stuff?" I'm like, "I can't get possessions," but I always explain to them, I look at ghost hunting exactly like fishing. You could be fishing and you won't catch anything. You'll get skunked, and then the next day you go, you can't keep it off your hook. People don't understand. Everyone needs immediate validation, I find. And I find if someone hears a knock or the house settling and you say that was the house settling, people get kind of ragey at you.
That's true.
Yeah, no. we and this is another problem that we have in this field is, and we've experienced this quite a bit, is sometimes some people, businesses or private homes will invite a team to come out and investigate, and this team will convince them that it's demonic. There's demons, you should move out, you need to get out of here. And of course, that team doesn't help them to get rid of whatever they claim it is. and they move on, that team moves on. And so now this family's panicking, they're freaked out, and they call us. And now we're in a situation where we have to talk these people off the ledge.
That's
Because they're
happened a
so
lot of times.
Because they're so convinced that it's demons in their home and it's out to kill them. And I always have to remind people, if there was something out there to harm you, it would have happened by now.
Yeah, you'd be dead.
And I wouldn't say you'd be dead, but
Well,
you'd be
maimed.
You'd be experiencing a lot of physical attacks on yourself.
Yeah, of course.
What our team
Just the
does-
lights going on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. They're freaked out because lights are going off, doors are opening shut, they hear something walking.
It's a demon.
You know,
It's a demon.
and they've got themselves convinced that it's something out to harm them. And it's like, no. And that's the biggest problem is that sometimes a lot of these groups go in and basically convince these people these horrific things, and now you're out there trying to fix the situation, and they're ready to sell their house and put themselves in financial debt. Right? It's like, oh my God, no.
Or even get put on medications, like some people are really needing help, and mental health and stuff like that too. So there's a lot to consider, financially, mental health as well, and these people are practically begging you for help for their livelihood.
Well, that's another thing too, is these people going in and investigating aren't trained in a lot of that mental issues, and they don't know how to look into some of that stuff, and so that could be misdiagnosed quite a bit as well.
With my team, I'm the one that will get first contact with our clients, because like my day job, I'm an investigator. That's what I do. So I'll use my work skills on people when I talk to them. But also if people really are excitable when we're trying to figure out a time when we can investigate or what's going on, I'll usually give a 1 to 2 week window, and I will tell them document every day the activity.
We do too.
Email it to us. And I find 50% will do that because they're really concerned, whereas the other 50% just watch back-to-back Exorcist and Ghost Adventures marathon, and they want a team in. And they lose interest after a few days.
Yeah.
That's kind of how, one of the ways we used to weed out just thrill seekers, because we don't want the thrill seekers. We want to go in and help people and find actual evidence.
Yeah, when we do the exact same thing, is if they're not willing to do the work, then obviously we're not willing to waste our time. And that's the biggest thing, because they need to understand that their journaling is very important. Like I said, it determines if there's patterns to the activity. It also, one of the things, and this is why I wrote my book, My Haunted Journal, is people don't seem to understand that people, when they start to tell their experiences, they tend to exaggerate their experiences because they want to convince you that they had this experience. So their intent is not really to lie to you, but again, they don't want to come off as being crazy. So your experience that you actually had could be completely different from what you're actually telling people. So you really need them to journal what they actually experienced, so you have that true raw information.
100%.
And so journaling is so important when it comes to the clients.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Good book, by the way, Ross. Great book. You autographed that one for me, a couple of them.
Okay, here's the one. Since so many of you are, up in Bigfoot land and Dogman land, and what are your all's thoughts on it? Have you ever seen any like evidence, the footprints, the unidentified, what have you? Do you believe it? Is it a myth? Is it a product of moonshine?
I have to say, I have not experienced anything Bigfoot, and I've even used Naked June as bait.
Did you stop it?
Nothing.
That was just one time, and it was too much.
Maybe it's
too much
June.
whiskey.
Maybe it's June's not his type.
I don't shave my legs sometimes.
I will say, where I currently live in Washington State, it is a Squatch hotbed. There is usually a sighting every 2 or 3 years. However, no one ever gets pictures. It always happens on some random highway going to Mount Rainier. I am not a believer in Bigfoot.
Okay.
I find it hard that here, you know, and don't get me wrong, you know, I try to keep an open mind to all aspects of the paranormal, UFOs, you know, Bigfoot, crypto, all that stuff, you know, but my main passion and focus has always been ghosts and dabbling a little bit in psychic phenomena as well, because I think sometimes those two can be part of it.
Right.
But I think now that we are in a society where we're very tech driven, we have a camera, a video camera in our pocket at all times.
Sure.
How can we not now have these experiences and not capture it? You know, that's the thing is this, you know, and granted, maybe it's shock. You go into shock and you're just dumbfounded, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm experiencing this, and forget. Yet there's all these people who always seem to capture the perfect phenomena on their phone, you know? It's just like, it's sad that we don't have enough evidence. And then of course too, when there is some sort of evidence, we have to question it.
Right.
Because now it's so easy to fake evidence. A 3-year-old could freaking put an apparition in a video now. That's how easy it is. So,
you know, there are a couple of videos that make me go, There's one, I don't know if you see it, it was at a construction site that these men were watching this, it looks like an ape creature, but it's like throwing these huge trees. And, you know, not saying a man couldn't do that, because, you know, I have been to the Scottish Highland Games. I've seen the men pick up the huge telephone poles and throw them, you know, at a great distance. But that was a little more interesting. And also to hear everyone's reactions, kind of freaking out about it. But, you know, like I said, you never know. I wasn't there. So I
What
don't
part
know.
of the country was that in?
I don't remember. I'll have to look it up and see if I can find it, because that was one of the more compelling videos for me.
but
But it was still a fuzzy camera. It was still fuzzy.
It's
you
always
know?
fuzzy, isn't that?
Yeah.
the case?
I mean, and
I think that's a job description for Bigfoot. Yeah.
I want to put in one thing real quick. You also have to consider the fact that there are people that are going through school to taking, you know, videography, special effects classes, and they produce a lot of this stuff, and they'll put it out to the public to see how well they did. Is it
That's true,
believable?
Yeah.
Just
You
like
know?
that van that hit that van that was shown in Japan, I think, where you see this cross of stream of traffic, and then you see a van hit, like, it looks like nothing of a wall, and so it was just going viral. And then you find out later that this was actually a promo for a game that was coming out in Japan, and nobody knew. Yeah.
So they do a lot of that just to see how well they did. Is the audience going to believe what I just produced? And they do. They get a kick out of it. They get a kick out of it when people would say, "Oh my God, that's a real ghost."
I would.
Well,
if
yeah,
I could do it.
that's the intention. I will say, while I might be poo-pooing Bigfoot, I'm not poo-pooing cryptozoology overall, because we keep finding critters.
Right.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Jake
Finding
loves
them.
his cryptids.
I do love my cryptids. It's
What
just
about alien?
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch is really big up here. It's big to do. Our indigenous people up here, it's they have signs for Sasquatch everywhere.
You know, and maybe this is just me, you know, being the devil's advocate. I just think it's I don't know why by now we don't have solid evidence when we're constantly overpopulating the world. You know, these rural areas are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. So why haven't we had that evidence yet? You know,
Found a skeleton.
Or found a skeleton or something like that.
I have to say that I am a closet Bigfoot believer. I have always kind of had a fascination for it ever since I found out about the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes, June, I've known you've always loved your hairy men.
Yes, I do. I have. I do love my big hairy men. But I know I logically I think that way too. Is how come they've never found a body? Blah blah blah. But there's millions of deer out there. How many times have you come across a skeleton of a deer in the woods? How many times though?
How many times would there's
like millions of
Bigfoot are
deer.
out there?
Wouldn't there
If
be
there was
millions
millions of Bigfoot,
carcasses?
yeah, then maybe we would have found one by now.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like
But
there's
we
only
don't-
maybe
but
there's
there's
only
no claims that
maybe
there's
only
millions of
2
them.
Bigfoot.
Maybe there
in the
is.
Pacific Northwest. Maybe there's 2 down up there.
Then
you know,
these
maybe
things
there's
are really
1.
long-lived then, because
Maybe
Immortal
you know?
even.
I know.
Lives in a
This way,
UFO.
Maybe
I
their
was gonna say-
lifespan is like 6,000 years.
Madison, I thought you wanted to say something. Madison, I want
Sorry,
to make sure
Madysen.
you get
I
to
mean, I'm
talk.
cutting Madysen off.
And don't get me wrong. Like I said, I do try to keep an open mind to it, and I do know that there are a lot of people out there that are very passionate about Bigfoot and crypto stuff. My good friend David Weatherly, he dabbles in that, and I have the utmost respect for him. And I've told him, I don't know. I've never actually studied it myself, to put my heart and soul into it to find out, what the claims are. It's just one of those things that, I think we have better chances of finding ghosts than Bigfoot. I don't know. That's just me.
So my degrees are actually in anthropology and sociology. And so I love all the mythologies of all these different peoples around the world that talk about these like larger than life primates. However, logistically speaking, as I took primatology, where's the food source? For something that big, you need calories. If you want to thrive, if you want to have babies, if you want to live a full life. So that being said, something
What about bunnies?
big, what are they eating on a consistent basis? And most primates that are that big, like for example, if we take into account gorillas, we didn't know lowland gorillas existed until the 1980s. We didn't distinguish them as a separate species. So considering them, we knew that they mostly ate plants, which is fine. In Africa, there's an abundance of plants where they live. They can eat that and survive. But something as big as Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Yeti, whatever you call it, what is it eating? What is it thriving?
The tree octopi, that's what they're eating.
There we go. How did I not know? Oh my God.
I love an
But
encephalopod. I need to learn about this.
That's my
No,
hanger.
that's a good point. And like I said, I've never put myself into fully researching Bigfoot. Is it possible? I think maybe in the past, maybe it was possible. I would think by now they would have found some more solid evidence that there's something out there, whether it be remains. I don't know. Have they ever found feces of Bigfoot? This giant turd. This is from Bigfoot. I know it.
Or the bear.
Put out some big shoes, so
Yeah.
they get taken.
The Great
To be
South Park.
fair, up in Canada, like British Columbia, for example, if you take the state of California, the entire population is bigger than the entire population of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So most
So-
of
Very
So yeah,
rude.
you got a lot more rural areas out there
Mhm.
for something
Yeah.
to survive and not be found.
Yeah.
It's just like the ocean. They're
Yeah.
constantly, pulling out new species out of the ocean as well. So yeah, like I said, is it possible? Yeah, it could be possible. I would think by as much, research that we've done, we would have found something. But, again, I'm being open-minded. I'm not criticizing those people that have put their, time and energy into following it. I'm just, I'd be just as curious as to what's going on, and it's interesting.
Yeah,
know?
no,
Yes.
totally. Like,
The whole paranormal world is interesting.
oh, absolutely. There's questions we'll never be able to answer in our lifetimes for sure. Especially like, I don't know if you guys believe in life outside of planet Earth. I'm a firm believer in it. I really am. I don't study it much. I don't look much into it, but life on other planets.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I definitely
Oh, yeah.
think it's very possible.
There
But
has
the
to be
funny
thing
something out
is,
there.
As we were talking about Bigfoot, the people that I've heard this, it may not be everybody, but it's interesting that the people that study Bigfoot think that us ghost hunters are all ridiculous.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true.
It's true.
We tell
Yeah.
you some stories about that too. Yeah.
And there's the alien guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
So-
alien guys. Yeah.
It's so separated, and it's very few that you find people that dabble in it all,
Yeah.
that kind of bind everybody together. But there's so many of these groups out there that just like, Bigfoot hunters are like, ghost hunters are ridiculous, stupid people.
Yeah.
And then the
I
same
have
thing with
kind of an alien story. I'm not an
Oh,
alien
please
guy.
share.
I'm a pure ghost guy, 100%. And this was at Wolf Creek in Oregon, actually.
Heard of
Sandra
it.
and I were setting up all of our gear to do an investigation that night. We were outside trying to get some cool shots with our camera. And Sandra looks up and she goes, "What is that?" Then I'm like, "Satellites." I automatically say satellites to like everything in the sky.
Just
or up in-
your standard.
Up in Canada, we joke around and be like, Americans, or like American Army.
Americans.
Air Force.
Damn Americans.
The Americans are sneaking in again. And then I look up and it was a really faint triangle, not even that far up from us. And it was 3 faint lights blinking. We're both seeing it. And then it just goes away. It wasn't it was silent. It was hovering above us. Silently.
I thought they debunked that.
Wasn't that the stealth
Yeah,
air-
the
airplane?
military craft.
We have like 3
It
fighters
actually looks
in
like a
Canada.
triangle.
We don't know. We don't know about that stuff.
See, they used to report that all the time on Unsolved Mysteries about a triangular shaped craft. And then a few years later, it came out as to our stealth aircraft. And they called it the Stealth because this thing is so huge and so large and it doesn't make any noise. It's freaky as you know.
That very
it's
well could
crazy.
have been it. Because we're
But
not.
you never know.
Yeah. Like,
Well,
I
that's the
think
thing too, is, with all these government, secret projects, who's
Yeah,
to
who
say that
knows?
people don't come across them, as they're experimenting and say, "Oh, that's paranormal, that's an alien ship," when, later you find out it was just like actually just a government, project.
Yeah, I mean, the at least the U.S. government has come a long way with the whole invisibility cloak thing. There is where it can refract the light around
Mirrors and yeah. Mhm.
it. Yeah.
we just
So-
bought the last American Korean war jets for Army jets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, time has flown by very, very quickly.
Really?
Very quickly.
No.
It's like,
Just like a stealth bomber.
yeah, just like the stealth. Can we go around to see how people can get in touch with you if they'd like to get in touch with you, I mean.
Well, we know with Michael, it only takes candy, so.
Ross has thrown me into some pretty bad places. I don't remember half. I don't ask questions anymore. Prisons.
God, if I knew it only took candy, I wouldn't have paid you. Damn it.
I don't even know. That's why when you asked me what the scariest place I've ever been to, and with Ross saying earlier, I don't tell my people where I'm going. I'm like, yeah, he's good at that because he's thrown me in some pretty crappy places. I don't ever.
It's all for science. Just remember that.
I'm like, dude, this is a dam. I'm underwater. It's 20 degrees out. It's crazy stuff. I'm not even going to go into it, but that's for later.
So Ross, why don't you start? How can people get a hold of you?
Well, I always encourage people to find me on Facebook, Ross Allison Ghost Hunter, and you can send a friend request. I tend to run out of space, but it's always put you in the loop because I do a lot of live feeds from places that we're investigating. So you'll be able to get the feed from seeing my travels and live feeds. I got some stuff coming up the end of the month for Halloween, so I'll be doing some traveling. So I'm excited about that. But then also too, if you're interested in any of my books, definitely check out Amazon for that. You can find all my books available for that. Our latest book that me and David did was Haunted Churches, so that is available now. The new one coming out soon, Haunted Hotels and Haunted Prisons, we're working on, so getting those out. And also, if you're in Seattle area, as soon as the COVID thing lightens up and you're looking for tours, check out Spooked in Seattle. But we are doing a video promotion for our Halloween season since we can't do tours.
It's very cool. We'll promote that one too when it comes out. And Mike, how about you?
The Paranormal Roadtrippers on Facebook and the Paranormal Roadtrippers on Instagram. Easy.
Very cool. And Jake, what about you?
Just go to my website, ghostlyactivities.com. You'll read all my very objective ghost hunts with evidence. That's the big thing.
Lots of evidence. And Michael and Madysen.
So we are at Creepshow Paranormal on Facebook, Instagram, or creepshowparanormal.com. And I would also throw out looking up Shakers Milwaukee because they've been featuring us in some of their YouTube videos. So
Nice.
Shakers
Awesome.
Milwaukee
That's
on
cool.
Facebook or Shakers Milwaukee on YouTube.
Yeah,
I'd love
Bob's
to
been
go
trying
there.
to get me to go out there to do one. So
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I want to go with you.
Mhm.
Always
I
you
like
always-
Milwaukee.
Mhm. We'll do
Maybe
a
in the
Milwaukee trip,
spring,
you
right?
guys.
Yeah, we can do
Yes.
Pfister. We can do the Pfister Hotel.
Ooh, yes. Yes, yes.
Yeah. We'll
I
stop
don't
by.
know when Jake says Pfister, I'm wondering where that's going.
It's a hotel.
Yes, it is a hotel. Actual hotel.
Trying to
So
ignore
Bar.
wrong.
Where's that bar?
Wrong.
The bar's on the 17th floor. Where's the bar? 7th floor? On the
We'll
Pfister?
find it.
Yeah, it's fine. A really nice bar.
I can offer the Haunted Hollow in Utah if you guys want a road trip there too.
that'd be
if you would
fun.
let us in.
I got a guy. I got a guy.
Yeah, guy.
Well, it's not that. You won't let us through your border. That's the problem.
Ah,
Oh yeah,
It's
you gotta
Utah.
come down there for that, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he said it was in Utah, Ross.
Yeah, Utah.
Utah's not in
Oh,
Canada.
Utah. Oh, I thought we were talking about Canada. Sorry.
Utah, Alberta.
Oh, Utah, Alberta.
No,
Oh,
I'm
never
kidding.
mind.
I'm kidding. Utah,
You're
America.
No, there was
confusing me.
one there.
Stop.
We're not good at geography.
Yeah, I never was good at that.
I didn't hear him say Utah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, wait. I've been there. Yeah, that's right.
All right. And if you have a show suggestion or just want to, say, hey, we're at Mystic Moon Cafe at gmail.com or mysticmooncafe.com, period.
Yes.
Jill?
So any parting words? Anybody? Anybody?
All I say is,
Don't ship to Canada.
no. I just wish, people be safe out there.
Yes.
Whether it be ghost
Please.
hunting or even dealing with this virus, just be safe.
Yes.
Because we don't want to have to come back and ghost hunt for you.
Nicely said.
Yeah.
All right,
Very
then.
well said.
Everybody, we don't have anybody lined up for next week yet being stressed, but we'll get there.
We should do this again. This was fun.
Yeah, we could probably do a
Sure.
part 2 easily
Yeah.
because the 2 hours went by
Absolutely.
really quick.
Yeah.
We have this many people.
hmm It's been perfect. Thank you all,
All right. See
for
y'all
being
next
such
week at
great
7.
guests. And all right, we'll talk to you later, everybody.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
folks.
Be safe.
Bye.
Take care.
Let's see.